Alright, right now we in the sun cycle and we're going through the great purification period. So what you put in your body is very key. And these GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and other things that are unhealthy for you is the wrong thing to be eating in a purification period, because it's going to have an effect on your bodies. Just like people that got, different, say, vaccinations or other different things, when the human resonance change, which is the Earth's heartbeat, it's like the poles are shifting on the planet, or what do we call that? What they call global warming. Others call it a pole shift. A pole shift is when the weather patterns change, or one place that is normally cold, it'll become hot. One place is normally hot, it'll start to become cold. Just like if you've been looking at the news lately, you've been seeing heat waves all over the country, when before you would only see them in certain spots. That means that the sun is heating up, it's getting closer to Earth. There are so many sunspots, meaning holes in the sun, that are producing CMEs, coronal mass ejection, that's sending plasma to the Earth. And you know that the sun has an effect on all living organisms on the planet. So if you notice, a lot of people been crashing out lately. You've been seeing a lot of erratic behaviors, a lot of things being exposed. Everything's being broadcast and brought to the surface. It's not as hard to decipher and discern people's lies or what's bullshit, because the illusion is over. The veil is being lifted. So things that were hidden before in plain sight, that have always been around, you can basically see with a clear eye now. You can catch on to the pattern of something a lot quicker than you once did, because you're seeing when apocalypse happens. Apocalypse means a great revealing. A great revealing is things that are concealed. So you'll start to see a pattern in the events in the world. And once you start to see these patterns, things that were concealed before that, people can just tell you and just brush off to the side, or convince you or program you to believe them, and you just run with the narrative and that be that. It's not the case anymore, because this is what you call a collective consciousness. A collective consciousness is when multiple people or individuals that don't know each other in different places and regions or all become hip to the same thing. Or you'll see people putting out the same videos on the same topics, just explaining the information in a different way, when these people do not know each other at all, but they all start to activate at the same time and do the same things at the same time. That's what they call a collective consciousness. This is kind of like what the Bible will call the 144,000 elect. It tells you that they will all be activated at a specific time and have these excessive abilities and be able to do the things that the Messiah did, and so many other things, and find things out. These are like the special forces of the Most High God on the front line. And then God is eternal. That means that exact God is activated within them, meaning that they'll have more clarity. It's the reason why, why you think in this country they're giving us fake foods, Gatorades, and stuff that's supposed to be healthy. These food dyes that are in these specific products, just like, in other countries, are banned. Like the Fanta soda that we get here in America, it is not the same as the Fanta soda that's being sold overseas. The Doritos that we get here in America, it is not the same as the Doritos that are being sold overseas or in Canada and other places. We have a FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. This is when you got to really ask yourself, why do these people, they're supposed to be, in a hierarchy or institution of people or body of people that, should have our best interests, and, should make sure we're getting the proper nutrients that we need. At one point, that was the case in America. I don't know overnight, I can go more in depth into the details, but that'd be a whole nother video. But my point is, right now, as above, so below, as within, so without. So the things that are happening above, the astrological influence, the sun heating up, sunspots, CMEs, coronal mass ejection, and then the actual physicality of Earth, Mother Nature, just like your body. If your body is starting to get poisoned or getting things that are harmful and not good for it, what does it do after a while? It starts to regurgitate them and spit them out, and it literally, because it's pure, it's purging all the bad things out. Just like if you notice, a lot of people have been getting sick. They got a new disease going around. It's called a parasite bug, and then they've been talking about people getting obsessive diarrhea. Why do you think the case of that is? Right at this exact time that you're seeing heat waves all over the whole country and crazy weather patterns and phenomenons everywhere. Think about this. Pay attention, The Bible even tells you this. It says, nobody knows the time and hour of the end, but you will know by the signs and the wonders. It tells you that the world never really ends. It just resets. It means the end of an age, the end of an era, end of an ideology, end of a mindset, So basically, things have to be crucified or died off in order for something new to come in. Your body's starting to reject stuff. It's removing parasites. But the whole point of this video is to show you this fruit right here. These are seedless grapes, right? Look. They look like they ain't been sitting too long, right? You know how long these been sitting in my refrigerator? These seedless grapes have been sitting in my refrigerator for almost 3 months. I was cleaning out my refrigerator the other day, looked in the back of them, and boom. Look, they still fully intact. They're not deteriorating. They're not shrinking down in size like a normal grape would do. They're not, these joints should have been mushed up by now, deteriorating and turned into liquefied, So you get a watermelon with seeds in it or any fruit with seeds in it, if you notice, it's not going to last that long, And I was taught a long time ago, when you're going in the stores and you're finding fruits, it says always look at the tag of what's organic and what's not organic. They said you can tell by the numbers. They said if you see a 9 in the sequence of the fruit labels of coding of number, that's how you can tell if it's organic. They said like a 3 or a 6 or something is when it's sprayed with pesticides. And then I think, I don't know whether it was 6 or whatever. You can look this stuff up. It's all in the public domain on the internet. But you can find ones that have seeds and ones that are seedless. Every living organism that was supposed to be connected to our bodies, because if our bodies are connected to the earth, believe it or not, the human body frequency is the same hertz frequency as the human resonance. The earth's heartbeat is the same as the human body. So if you think about it, when you think about the elements, earth, water, fire, and air, think about that. The fifth element is ether. What is ether? Ether is plasma. What is plasma? Ionized gases. What is these gases? The energy of your soul. You ever heard of wine and spirits? They said the alcohol and the gases is the same as the soul of the human being and the human anatomy. That's why they say it's wine and spirits. So when you start drinking these alcohols, it intensify your spirit. You ever heard the saying, a drunk man never lies? Well, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm trying to give you an analogy here. The same thing that's in ether, which is the fifth element, is what controls the four, the earth, water, fire, and air, which are all inhabitants of Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, Tiamat, Planet Kai. This earth. The earth is a whole living vessel, And when you harm the earth, can probably take, well, we know the earth can take more than our human bodies before we regurgitate something. But when the great purification happens, this is when the earth starts to regurgitate what is not good to it. It'll say in a biblical verse, it says, wicked being swept off the land, When we say wicked, we're not talking about a color or people or this, and that. We're talking about an ideology, an idea. What is not good to something in its natural form, in its natural nature, in its natural habitat. Like things like this. Fruit. This is unpure. The simple fact that it does not have a life-giving seed in it. Seeds are what keeps things reproducing. Producing. That which makes it real. Because you can replant it and regrow it. And it rejuvenates. It recycles in the cycle of life. You know, it lives on through seed. This has no seed. And look at how it's staying in formation, shape, versus what the natural fruit would look like. So what I'm saying is, in this great purification period, please watch what you are putting in your body, you know. This is the time, if your body is detoxifying, you'll see people sweating rapidly and profusely right now, you know, because it's super hot, you know, that's those toxins coming out your body. Before it would take you 3 days or whatever to, you know, cleanse your system. It probably take you 24 hours now, you know, just by sitting in the sun. You ever heard of sun gazing, meditation, and grounding, you know, putting your feet in the soil, because the soles of your feet, you know, the currents from the earth, just like your palms. Anything like your palms or the soles of your feet, that's where energy moves through. That's why you see your hand. Fifth element being ether. That's why hand motions, they call them mudras. You know, you'll see these being done by Buddhist monks, you know, people in yoga or whatever, because it directs energy. We are full of energy. You know, even when they say 666, 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, you know, but it's all going into the energy aspect of the human DNA and anatomy, you know. So this is what you got to see. Even 6 in the Hebrew alphabet, you have Aleph, Bayet, Gemab, Dalet, He, Va. Va, the 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Va, guess what it means? If you go to Yad, He, Va, He, it means divine masculine, divine feminine, back to divine masculine. Masculine is in preference to mankind, you know. Mankind, human beings. So it's talking about man. So when you see 666, mark of the beast, it's talking about, even tells you that in the book of Revelation. It's talking about a multitude of people, places, and things that possess this ideology, which is created to destroy and devour what is natural to the planet. And that's with ideology, physicality, your health, and so many things. Whoever came up with the idea to make fake foods, GMOs, and there's a guy named Bill out there. That's all I'm gonna say. A guy named Bill, you know. So, and these are people in high and wicked places, principalities, rulers of darkness. You know, same people that are producing, you know, the vax or the jab, you know, that is causing, you know, it said, you know, it's like a wolf in sheep clothing. It tell you like, oh, this is designed to heal you or protect you from this, and that. But the whole time, think about it. 1,000 years ago, was anybody had to get any shots or anything